What's up, YouTube? Houston here. And for those of you just finding my YouTube channel, welcome. Please remember to hit that subscribe button and that bell. And for those of you that's been following me and supporting me, salute. And for my favorite patrons, double salute. Now, today's video, we're going to talk about how to fix your bad credit step by step in 60 days or less. And it is possible, but your biggest challenge is with the credit bureaus because all of them will not respond at the same time, or they will not follow the true legal process to help you restore your bad credit. So we're going to talk about this step by step. Now, step number one, talking about freezing your credit report. Now, there's a difference between freezing your credit report and locking your credit report. And the biggest difference, when you freeze your credit report, 99% of the time, then there's no type of activity going on with the report, okay? They can't put any negative items on it. So when creditors say, or when creditors attempt to add things to the credit file, they cannot do that, okay? So that's the reason you have a lot of guys that said freeze your credit report. Now, there's a difference between freezing your credit report and locking your credit report. You lock your credit report like if you're not planning on, after you fix your credit and stuff, you're not planning on applying for any type of credit cards or anything. Also, to prevent old creditors from popping up, or to help with ID protection or something like that. So there's a difference. But the one we're focusing on now, we're talking about doing a credit freeze. All right, this is so important. Now, when doing a credit freeze, you gotta understand this. This is step one, and you gotta follow this to the T. All right. So you're gonna freeze with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. However, most people that when they challenge the credit items on their report, they're not realizing these credit bureaus, they have backup systems, okay, from other companies. Like Clarity is owned by Experian. You have DataX, which is owned by Equifax. You have Trust Factor, which is owned by TransUnion. Then you have CoreLogic, Lexus Nexus, and ARS, right? So you have these other backup credit bureaus that you need to freeze, all right? So where most people would just freeze the major credit bureaus, these third-party credit bureaus, these are the ones that can really get you in a lot of trouble, okay? So that's the reason I tell you guys, if you're working on your credit yourself, you always want to make sure that you freeze these third-party companies as well. Because here's how it works. You send your letters in to the major credit bureaus, okay? They see that you have a freeze on it. But because you don't know that they have backup systems, they're going to use those backup systems not on looking at the numbers. They're looking at only the name and the address. That's all they do for is validation. Okay, so that's the reason many of you, you send your letters in and they send it back, oh, verified or whatever, because they're using these backup systems. So you need to understand that, hey, lock these files up, okay, freeze these files as well, so that way when you're challenging, they cannot go to these other companies to verify that information, the name and address and stuff. They can only go from whatever you send in to them. Now, in terms of if you're going to be challenging with the collection companies, you do not want to send in an ID, okay? Now, validation is on them, or the burden of proof is on them. So you do not want to send in an ID for the collection companies. You do not want to send in your Social Security number for the collection companies. Do not do that. A lot of people make that mistake. They're sending all their information to the collection companies, and because now they have this data on you, now they can verify that, oh, this is your debt or whatever. Now, understanding, like I said, with you talking about statutes where account is expired or something like that, a lot of times with the credit bureaus and stuff, um, say that you're using what do you call that? All right, so people are using this signing up saying that they're a credit repair company, right? But they're using this artificial intelligence to send these letters over, right, to the credit bureau. Now, here's the thing about that. I'm gonna tell you guys, whenever you send your letters out electronically, what ends up happening is that your file automatically gets coded, okay? And because now it's coded, whenever you try, they send it back, we verified. Whenever you try to go back and challenge it because you know that they didn't verify, now you have a harder time proving to them, or you have a harder time proving that, hey, this isn't my debt, this is past the statutes and things like that, because they already coded the system. That's the reason I tell you guys, with these people out here that saying they starting a credit repair company and they can help you fix your credit. Now, I'm not dismissing what they're offering does not work. Okay, I'm not dismissing that. Okay, because at some point it does work. But at the same time, when they originally start just sending electronic letters and they start coding you, now it puts you in a position to where you're on the defensive all the time. And the only way to move past that, they actually have to go through the CFPB because they know that they did not do a proper validation. So this is the reason why I tell you guys, please pay attention to these people that say they're doing credit repair, because if they can't explain this to help you understand why you needed to do it in these steps, they're going to screw you over, okay? And most of these people that's doing credit repair companies and stuff, a lot of them have bad credit. So how can they help you fix your credit if they can't fix their own credit, all right? And I'm not dismissing the softwares and stuff like that. Like I said, it works. But in terms of when you can actually create a very bad legal problem for yourself, because now when you try to challenge these negative items because they already coded you, it's going to create more of a headache for you, okay? So just keep that in mind. Now, step number 2 is addresses, old information. Okay, this is so important because this is like the biggest caveat to helping you have success in removing negative items off of your credit report. Okay, and most people don't. They'll jump the gun again with these credit repair, online credit repair systems and stuff, and they'll just start challenging all this these negative accounts or whatever. However, if you want to have more success, then you have to, and you know that you have old, outdated accounts and stuff like that. You no longer live at that address. You haven't been at that address for over 2 years or whatever. Then you need to remove those old addresses. Okay, this is key to you having the success of removing negative accounts. Okay, so for those of you that do credit repair and you call yourself helping these people, there's a nugget for you that you should use, and you should educate yourself on it. All right, but here's something that's just so important that most people miss, because they have that address, and like I told you, in terms of validation, what happens is the credit bureaus, they're going to look at the name, and they're going to look at the address, okay? And that's all they're going to match up. They're not caring about the dollar amount. When was the last time you made payment? They don't care about the activity of the account. All they care about is the name matches and the address. These are the two biggest proponents of why so many people have such a hard time getting their credit fixed and stuff, because this has not happened yet. And sometimes people jump the gun. That's the reason, like, even in our own division, one of the biggest things that I tell people It may be a slower process, and the reason is because we want to try to remove as much old data about you from the system as possible, then block everything, and then go after challenging those negative accounts, because you'll have a higher success. All right? Now, here's another thing. Say that you have like charge-offs and stuff. One of the things that I keep telling people, and you must understand this, okay? If you have a charge-off on your credit file and it's not reporting, then that charge-off is not affecting you, okay? So if it's on there but it hasn't reported and stuff like that, it's not affecting you. Now, the thing about it, for most people, they use like Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, and things like that to get access to the free credit report and stuff. The thing about it, you need to understand that you need to focus on your FICO scores. And the only way to see your actual FICO scores is to actually get your real FICO report. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a link below this video, and you go and sign up. Don't get the cheapest program. You got to get the $39.99 program, because you're going to see there's much more data. There's a lot more data points in terms of, so you can understand, okay, what am I looking at? How come this credit score number here is higher or less than this credit score number? These are the things that you need to understand, so you know, okay, this is what's actually happening on my credit file. Now, here's another thing. Let's talk more about this charge-offs, okay? So now we know that charge-offs that are not reporting, that's not affecting your credit, okay? Late payments that are not currently reporting are not reflective on your credit report. So I would put it like this. The average time span, if it hasn't reported in at least 9 months, then that's something that you don't have to worry about, because it's not affecting the credit report. Yes, it's a charge-off that's on the credit file, but it's not affecting the credit score and stuff like that. All right? So even like with old collections and stuff, if it hasn't reported in the past 9 months, it's not affecting the credit report. So you do need to understand that. Now, here's some things that you can do that may make things more simpler for you. You may want to write a hardship to the creditor, letting the original creditor, not the collection company, the original creditor, letting them know that you had financial hardship. And it's hard for you, because there's letters out there to how to write the letter or whatever. But the whole purpose of the letter is let them know that you do not have the ability, or at that time you did not have the ability to make payments and stuff like that, right? And if they can recall the debt, if they charged it off and send you over a 1099-C, that's cancellation of debt, okay? Now with that 1099-C, if they say, well, we can't give you a 1099-C, then again, this is something that you can say, well, if you can't provide me with a 1099-C, who did you sell the account to? Because you charged this account off, saying that you no longer have this debt, you charged it off. So in terms of them removing that charge off on the credit file, they have to. So one of the things that you could do is report them to the CLPB. But you have to do this in all legal form. This is so important. This is the reason I tell people, like, using those companies that call themselves credit repair companies, and they're doing it through letters. They're not doing this here process. They are not actually doing this process. They're sending out generic letters or whatever, but they're not actually doing a legal process to where you're actually being protected. If you have more questions about fixing your credit and stuff like that, you can click the link in the description and schedule a one-on-one consultation, and I'll actually go over your credit report with you and show you step by step in terms of what needs to be done, okay? Right now, we don't do credit repair because we're backed up, but I can still tell you so that you can at least have a better understanding, okay? So that being said, that 1099-C collection of cancellation of debt is so important in terms of helping you remove those negative items and charge-offs. Now, inquiries. Here's another thing that could be can be beneficial. Hard inquiries, okay? Now, here's the thing about it. I always tell people, if you have a hard inquiry on your credit report and you have an open account, I would let that open account season between 6 to 9 months before I challenge that hard inquiry. The reason is, if you challenge a hard inquiry when you just open up account, you are taking chances of them actually freezing the account and you losing the account. So that's the reason I tell people that. A lot of times people have success and get away with it, but again, I'm just telling you guys, if it's an active account that's currently open, is brand new, then I would not challenge it right away. Now, for your old inquiries that are about 9 months or older than that, and some of those inquiries, you may have multiple inquiries where you can say, hey, I was not aware that these company pulled my credit report. I did not give them permission to pull my credit report. So now the burden of proof is on the creditor, right? And because they cannot actually prove, because you could have been coerced into getting that hard inquiry when you know that you wasn't going to get approved, or you could have been applying for a car loan, trying to get a rent a place. You could have been trying to get a mortgage or something like that, and they just kept running your credit. So putting those hard inquiries on it, and you was not aware of it, okay? So that's the reason I'm telling you guys, in terms of the steps to remove the hard inquiries, is with Experian, they may be flexible enough to remove those hard inquiries within the first 24 hours, okay? But you would have to, all of these companies, when trying to remove hard inquiries, the biggest key is reaching out to their fraud department. That's the only department you want to reach out to and let them know that, hey, I am not aware of these inquiries on my credit file. I did not agree to this, and they would do an investigation. Now, Experian being the easiest, Equifax and TransUnion, sometimes they may be more challenging, and the reason is because they want you to send in your ID, utility bill, and a statement actually saying that, hey, I did not agree to do business with these here companies here. And so with that documentation, that's what they use to remove the inquiries, okay? But one of the things about it, you have to go through the fraud department.